Seeker arrows? I hardly knew her arrows. You know what I mean, guys? Yeah. Anyway, so the polls are done for the Blood Moon Rises rewards, and surprise, surprise, pretty much everything passed. The only thing that did not pass was the leechfin sandwiches, the knuckle sandwiches. I'm gonna call them. So the knuckle sandwiches didn't pass. They were like a food that give you some sort of, you eat the food and get some healing, but then you also get like a guaranteed lifesteal thing going on top of it. That didn't pass, and I'm fully okay with that. There's some other stuff that I kind of hope didn't pass. We'll get into that later, but just quickly on the one thing that didn't actually pass. To me, it just reminds me of the hunter foods of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They added like the hunter foods with rumors, and like they have a place in that, like they're better than some hard foods sometimes. But like on any kind of iron account, or like unless you're using the sunlight crossbow and you're going through a billion bolts, you're just not gonna have like a real amount of these foods. Like it's not gonna be a thing that you use long term for anything, just because they're so much more annoying to acquire than most fish. Like you can fish a billion buons an hour. Like minnows are great, anglers are AFK, and it's still like the best overhealing food. So I don't see why anyone was going to go out of their way to get these. It just kind of feels like a nothing addition that just would end up getting ignored by most people anyway, so I'm fully fine that these did not pass. With that being said, we'll go into the other stuff that's going to come along with this quest. I've got a couple of gripes with a few things, but overall pretty positive, so if you don't want to hear too much negativity, don't worry, there's only one item that I kind of have some issues with, and I think they're pretty reasonable issues. So we'll get to that when we get to it, but let's just start reading through. We're on the wiki page, not the actual blog, so we'll get some of the images front and center. But without too much further ado, let's get to it. I'm not gonna read all of the lore and the yada yada. We're just going to talk about the rewards here. So first and foremost, we have the quest rewards. These are the free things that they give you at the end of the quest. To be expected, we have the upgrade to the Blisterwood Flail. It says this one will be faster and stronger, so I'm assuming one tick faster in attack speed, and just more strength bonus is perfect. This will be great for our AFK blood shard farming, and will be very good for the new, not boss, but mini boss, Slayer mini boss, kind of demonic gorilla-esque variant we now have for vampires. So this is going to be sweet. They don't tell us what it is going to be called, but we will find that out when we do the quest. Then they're also giving us another vampire weapon, which is a spec weapon. This will have, it says it will be exceedingly strong against the vampires, so good for the Viritas and the new Slayer mini boss, but it won't be like an exceedingly good spec weapon for anything else if you have any real spec weapons. So maybe if you're on an early iron, this might see some use similar to the blade of Aquango Wongo, whatever that quest reward was called, with the just kind of regular spec, DPS spec with a little burn effect on it. Just kind of like a crappy little DPS spec weapon so that you have an option if your only other option was a DDS. Cool to add a few more of these. As long as they're not too good, they're not replacing any of like the real spec weapons that you kind of gotta work for to get, your Dragon Claws, your Void Wakers, your ZCBs. As long as they're not really power creeping those in any real places, love whenever they add some like semi-relevant spec weapons. Just great to give someone something. Especially recently, they've been going hard with special energy, and like if you have a ton of spec energy to use and nothing really cool to use it with, not a great feeling. So now with double death charge, with light bearer, with surge potions, there's a lot of spec energy to go around and to be used. So here we go. Here's another spec weapon for if you don't have one. Sweet. You can use it outside of vampires, but it won't be amazing. But for those vampires, it's going to be owning. God bless. And the special attack on this thing is Seeking Lunge, so it always deals 70% of maximum damage on a successful hit. If a monster has less HP than this attack would deal, this attack always rolls exactly 70% of its maximum accuracy roll. So this will be really good at finishing things off, essentially. You're much more likely to hit if the monster has less HP than your specs, than 70% of your spec. Um, oh, sorry, no, if it has less HP than what number you roll, that's weird. So it says if a monster has less HP than this attack would deal, not could deal. So it's like the number you roll, whether or not you pass the accuracy check. Like, say you miss, but the number would have been a 60 if you hit, I guess. It has increased accuracy if their HP is less than what you would have hit. It's not then what you could have hit, so it's not your max hit. It's just what that attack would have rolled. So could be better, could be worse. Definitely with its increased effectiveness on vampires, it should be decent, but it's hard to say. It also doesn't specifically say if this has Vampire Bane in any way, or if it I guess it can hit Vires. They're saying it can hit Vires. Maybe that's not really a thing. Like the special effects, it has increased damage on the flail, so that is a thing. This one doesn't have it, but it can hit Vires. So they're definitely it can hit Vires. It doesn't have any kind of damage boost or accuracy boost on Vires, but it is, I guess, in reality, the only spec weapon that is going to do something against a vampire since they are immune to every other bit of spec damage. Sorry for the confusion there. That took me a second to figure out why this thing is actually useful. So, yeah, it's a spec weapon for vampires. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, a little bit weird in how that effect works. I wonder how good it will actually end up feeling in terms of finishing things off. Then we have the Land of Vampirium, which has a few things, but really we want to talk about the rewards. We aren't going to talk about the boss or the mini-boss too in-depth, just the stuff that comes from them. So we got the Bloodwood trees, which is another woodcutting method. This is what's going to give us the Bloodwood bark and Bloodwood sap. This is used to make the Seeker arrows. And then woodcutting in PVM. So the woodcutting is, I think, a mandatory part of the process, but the PVM, I think, essentially multiplies or has some way of you increasing the output of how much bark or sap that you acquire. So likely you'll wanting to be doing both if you want to make a ton of these Seeker arrows. But going down into the Seeker arrows themselves, this is what I really want to talk about. If the Vampirium is going to demand blood, bark, and a bit of suffering, it should probably give something back. That something starts with Seeker arrows, a powerful upgrade to ranged ammunition. Rather than replacing existing arrows outright, Seeker arrows act as an upgrade layer. They can be fitted to any standard arrowhead, including Dragon Amethyst Rune and others, enhancing the base arrow rather than competing with it. When applied, Seeker arrows provide 23 ranged accuracy. This is to whatever tier of arrows you apply them to, doesn't matter. And a minimum hit bonus of +2, raising your minimum damage from 1 to 3. So this does not mean you will always roll a 3 when you shoot things. It's not like a guaranteed accuracy check or anything. This isn't replacing zeros. This is simply going to replace your 1 and your 2 damage rolls with 3s. So anytime that you would have landed a 1 or a 2, this will instead be a 3. That is how that works. But the main thing is 23 ranged accuracy. In all situations, for pretty much 2 weapons, kind of a third, but it's very niche. So we're talking about T-Bow, Scorching Bow, and Venator Bow. These are the 3 main things that are using arrows. It's not going to buff Bofa, because Bofa doesn't use arrows. It's just going to be using those 3 for the most part. MSB is really an early game weapon, so some people will be using this with MSB, but I don't really... We're not really talking about that. We're talking about the real weapons that are used by most people in the current PVM meta. I feel like, and call me crazy here, I feel like it's just we complete a quest, and then I go chop some trees, and then suddenly I have almost 25 extra accuracy on something that was already busted. Like, don't get me wrong, I like being overpowered. I like power creep in my video games. I like going to a boss and absolutely smoking it. But, like, I like the power to feel like I've acquired it in a way that kind of justifies how strong it is, if that makes sense. There's so many upgrades we've gotten over the years for range that are really powerful. The Quiver, Full Masori, Rigor. Like, these things all come from somewhere pretty relevant. It takes a lot to go get them. It's a whole ordeal. Now we can just juice them. It's not a little bit of accuracy. Like, that's not a small amount of accuracy. Let me just quickly throw on my Doom setup, and just see what percentage of the raw accuracy bonus that's gonna be with an Amethyst Arrow setup. Because I'm just curious. Because for me, like, and before someone says it's like an Iron Man thing, oh, you don't want to go and get all this stuff to make all the arrows. Like, listen, we're the king of the unemployed at this point. Like, I've got 200,000 Amethyst Arrows. I just got Grandmaster on my iron. We're about to be maxed. I will turn all 200,000 of those into Amethyst Seeker Arrows. I will. It is not a question. And I'm a duo gim. If it's really asked to do, I might just ask my duo to do some of it for me. Like, it's not that crazy. I'm gonna have a ton of these Seeker Arrows. So in max range, not max range, I guess my treads don't have Pegasians in them, but we don't need to talk about that. In close to max range, I have 128 range attack bonus in Void at Doom. Suddenly I'm at 151 with Seeker Arrows. Now, I don't know if you guys have used Void anywhere before, but increases in accuracy are very noticed. Void has its pros and cons. Its pro is you will have more max hits than you do in Masori. The percentage carries you to a higher max hit with TiVo. The con is your accuracy will suffer. Now they're just giving us 23 free range accuracy? For free? Just for, like, gluing some sap onto our arrows? I don't know. To me, this seems like just too much. Just addressing the strength alone, this feels like too much. If we want to talk about the concept of the item, I don't particularly like it either. We always have this, like, back and forth gripe, internal dilemma of, like, attachment scape and upgrade scape and, like, charge scape, and, like, we say these terms and, like, they have such, like, a negative connotation to them, and yet in the same breath they're like, we know we want to avoid things like this, but then they'll be like, but you know what you guys have needed and have been looking for and will be so sick? What if there's an attachment to your ammo? You know how you have to upkeep your ammo? Yeah, well, like, what if now you have to upkeep the attachment to the ammo and like, it just feels kind of silly. Like, let alone the, like, lore-wise, or, like, are vampires good with... I thought this would come from, like, an elf quest, maybe, an upgrade to arrows. Like, are vampires good rangers? Have we been shot by an arrow by a single vampire ever? Are they just, like, selling, like, these superior arrows on the low to, like, the elves in Taramwan and making a butt? Like, where does the arrow aspect come out of the vampires? Maybe I'm dumb here, maybe I'm missing something, but this just feels weird. It feels like just a thing that they had in the pipeline cooking, and, like, they needed an extra reward to throw onto this quest, and they're like, boom, arrow attachments. And, like, every single thing in this game, if it's PVM, it will pass. It will pass the poll. If it's not PvP, it's gonna pass the poll. I don't remember the last, like, PVM item that's like failed a poll that's been, like, a reasonable PVM item. Like, everything passes. So like, if as soon as they put it in the poll, it's coming into the game. Like, it pretty much just is. I'm shocked that these leech fin sandwiches didn't pass. Like, that was a shock to me. I thought it was all passing. But like, I don't know. To me, these arrows, they feel out of place. They feel far too strong for just like a, let me go chop a tree and add a little goo onto my arrows. Just a guaranteed upgrade that I complete this quest and suddenly, anytime I'm using the best ranged weapon in the game, I have an extra 23 accuracy. Or anytime I'm using the best ranged weapon for demons, other than like Doom, Scobo, I have an extra 23 accuracy. And that weapon's a multiplier-based weapon. Like, it's like all Demon Bane and Dragon Bane and all of these things that have percentage multipliers on their damage and accuracy. Giving it flat accuracy is a big deal. It's gonna be really noticeable and really, really strong, and you're gonna want to use these. You're never gonna want to be shooting normal arrows if you have this quest done. It's just gonna be worse. It's gonna be significantly worse, and you're gonna be sad knowing how much damage you could be doing. I just feel like this is not necessarily something we needed, and not necessarily a feeling we needed to give to players. Like, arrows are good enough, T-Bow's good enough, Scobo's good enough. We don't need to add, like, the FOMO of, like, fuck, now I need to go get Seeker arrows. And I'm not complaining about this for me. I will get the Seeker arrows. I will have 200,000 of them, and I won't have to worry about it for the next 2 years. And I'll be shooting them, and I'll be enjoying it. That's fine. I'm not talking about this for me. Just for, like, a lot of people that just, like, it's just another thing to upkeep. And, like, yeah, the game's not around irons, but, like, how much money do you want to pay for your arrows that you shoot constantly when you know now that you can be pumping with these Seeker arrows? I don't know. To me, it feels like a bit too much, a bit too out of place for where it's coming from, and, like, ooh, yeah, even just, like, not talking about the min hit, that's just a lot of accuracy, man. It's gonna be very impactful, and you're never gonna want to be shooting anything else. I won't talk about it too much more. Like, the obtaining them, it's fine. It might be really slow and annoying, but, like, you're gonna be doing it. You will be. It passed the poll. You're gonna be doing it. You have a T-Bow. You have a bunch of amethyst arrows. Have fun applying a bunch of goo to them, because that's where it's headed. Me personally, I don't like it, but it's coming into the game. I accept it. It is what it is. That is what they wanted. They have a vision for range that maybe we aren't seeing. Maybe they tune them back in the future. Maybe they are as OP as we think they're going to be, and they get tuned back. Hopefully that's the case. Maybe we're overreacting a little bit without them being into the game. I don't think so. It feels like an egregious amount of accuracy for just a free attach it onto the arrows, but we shall see when it comes into the game and when it comes into actual play. Alrighty, going on to the next thing. These are the stim fikes. Very quickly, this is just like a little hunter training method. It doesn't give you anything relevant. It is just an XP method. This is just a hunter training method. I like that they're adding this. It's something to do other than rumors and chins and herbivore. It's a more AFK thing, they're saying. Less XP than red chins, but kind of slotted in that area, but more AFK. It doesn't really give you anything relevant, but just another option for training hunter, which, good. Always nice to have. The leech fins, these failed the poll, so this was like a fishing method and then a new food. We can go fully past this. Sit. The leech fin sandwich. Sit. Alrighty, PVM and Slayer. Alrighty, Venators. This is the little Slayer mini-boss, the new addition to Viratas. So if you are on a Viratas, you not only, or it's no longer that you just have the option of going to the main spot where all the bots are, crowding the place. Now you have the Venators. These are going to be a more difficult encounter, higher level, probably have some mechanics to them, but they are going to be far more generous with the blood shards. I am hoping they have, like, a range of, like, drops 2 to 3 of them at a time, maybe? I don't know. We could maybe cook up a little bit in terms of making the Blood Fury less annoying to use and less expensive to use for you mains. I'm really looking forward to these. They don't have any crazy unique to them, but it will just be a juicy Slayer monster for you to do on your Viratas if you want a higher chance at more money, more blood shards if you're on your Iron Man. great. They finally added a new addition to Blood Shards. For years, when we've been asking in terms of like the Q&As, the people asking on Twitter, they've always said, oh, there will be a better source for Blood Shards when the final Vampire Quest comes out. They've said it for so long. And finally, we have the concept. It's coming into the game. Venators. Nice. Hopefully they are actually generous with the blood shards. Hopefully it's not, like, kind of criminal and they're being a little stingy still, but we shall see when it comes in what the rates actually look like. And they're also saying there's going to be a way to hunt them off task, but you need to help them out with the stimfike population if you want to do this. So I think it's going to be, like, per X amount of stimfike you hunt, you can hunt X amount of Venator, because it says for limited access to off tasks. So I don't think it's like you do a certain amount of the hunter and now you just have the cave open. I think it will be relative to the amount of hunter you do, it seems, which is kind of cool. It will be good for the whole bot issue. We won't just have the bots migrating from the regular vampires over to these ones, taking them out for all the blood shards. So hopefully that works out in favor of that. And then lastly, we have the maggots. The maggots. I don't know why they called them that as a dumbass name, but we will move on. The main bad boy over here is the Maggot King, and this is going to be what gives us the Necklace of Pursuit and the Crimson Bludgeon. Now these things are looking juiced. We knew the Necklace of Pursuit was coming in one form or another. It was the last Zenyte to get an upgrade. We knew it was coming, and I'm kind of surprised they had it on this vampire boss. I like the name change. They originally had it the Necklace of Pursuit, but they changed it to something a little bit more spooky to keep it with like the theme of these Zenyte necklaces. All the Zenyte necklace names have just like a very a word with like a heavy connotation to it. It's like anguish, torture, upgrade to rancor, and we have like suffering, and then tormented bracelet go to the confliction gauntlets. Pursuit just didn't fit into this naming scheme at all. I forget what they actually switched it to, but this is not the final name. The wiki is just using the older one here. But it did pass the poll, and it is juiced up. They nerfed the range strength down from what it originally was, but with this thing on, you will now be seeing range actually start to win out over Scythe in a lot more situations in the Colosseum waves. Range will take best in slot position over Scythe at a few different rooms in other raids as well. I think TOB might have a few little shifts depending on scenarios, which is crazy. That is kind of nuts. Range is getting very strong, but they said the ebb and flow of power creep. The other styles will have their day to come. Range has gotten a lot of things recently, and I think this is probably like the last little icing on the cake that Range is getting for quite a while, probably, because yeah, our T-bows are going to be pumping. We will be hitting the triple digits in Chambers of Xeric easily, and not that crazy of scales, and it will be absurd. There's not too much to be said about this necklace, apart from it's just an anguish on crack. It's gonna do what the Rancor has done. It's not going to do as much as the Confliction Gauntlets have done, as they have like a crazy passive on them that kind of threw magic on its head outside of the shadow, which it needed to. But it will have a similar effect to the Rancor, where anywhere you were using melee, look forward to pumping a good chunk harder. A good chunk. And it's not a melee situation where before you were kind of deciding on Torture and Blood Fury, and now you're feeling even worse when you're putting that Blood Fury on over the Rancor. You don't have a necklace that is a ranged necklace switch. This is your only option. So you're going from the pumper option to the pumping even more option. So this is going to be awesome. It's going to feel great. They changed the way that the upgrade works. So if you get the drop from the boss, you no longer need the Zenyte to make it tradable. You just need the crafting level to like refine it, to chisel it down into what can be added on. So like you have the unrefined version that's untradable. If you have the crafting level, you can refine it. This alleviates the problem of Iron Man having to go back to Demonic Gorillas to acquire another Onyx, another Zenyte Shard, to make another piece of this jewelry just to be able to sell it. I went 2,800 dry for a singular Zenyte to be able to sell one of my Mocha Cloths. There's another one sitting in my bank to this day. Somebody want to kill a gorilla for me? I ain't gonna do it. I'm glad they did this so we can actually just trade over extra dupes without any extra hassle, and it doesn't remove that issue of, like, associating a crafting level with making the upgrade or making money from the boss. So that's cool. They finally did the workaround. They're not going to go back and address the previous items because fuck us, but at least they did it for this one. And then we have the Crimson Bludgeon. This bad boy. Okay, first of all, there's a few things I saw about this weapon, like Reddit takes. We always see the Reddit takes, and man, they were bad this time. First one I saw is like, why does it look so cool and it's only a spec weapon? This is a real take that people were giving, and that Jagex responded to. They said it looks too cool to be just a spec weapon. It's like, sorry, do you want our spec weapons to look like shit? It's like, so like they need to add a spec weapon. They're gonna add a spec weapon. They designed a spec weapon, and they made it cool. And you guys are like, oh, you made it too cool, man. I only get to use it when I spec? Like, we are so hard looking for things to complain about that it's not even funny, okay? Like, it looks cool, get over it. Some of the coolest looking weapons in the game are spec weapons. Voidwaker, badass. Dragon Claws, badass. They don't look cool when you're wearing them, but the animation, bro, some of the best animations in the game. They're all spec animations. They all are. Like, just get over it. The team is getting better and better at design. There's more and more J-mods on the team. They get to put effort and time and juice into everything we get. We're not going to get any more weapons that are like, yeah, this is a bludgeon spine. It's like, yeah, it's an abyssal demon. Nah, we're getting cool shit. We're getting shit that they cook up. It's gonna have an animation. It's gonna have some crazy shit when you use the spec. Look at this thing. Be happy it's cool. Okay, the other complaint I saw is like, why isn't it a main hand crush weapon? Okay, let them cook, boys. Just let them cook. We have a few main hand crush weapons already. We got bludgeon, we got mace, we got the cudgel if you're going real shit. But like, Rage 4's coming, they're angling towards crush. We're probably gonna get a mega juicer crush weapon. What do they add main hand to crush weapon that doesn't just completely shit on mace, or isn't just like some weird side grade that sits nowhere? Like, bludgeon is a whip. We already have that slot filled. It's the same strength bonus. It can train strength. Crush weapon is a whip. Cudgel is like around a D-sim. Mace is like rapier tier. And then we have Scythe that can crush, but we don't need to talk about that. That we can forget about. It's like, where do you slot in a new main hand crush weapon that isn't just really weird? Like, we have Zombie Axe now. Like, there's a few options. So like, we can make it work with what they have while they try and flesh out crush. What we don't have is any crush spec weapon. Look at this. We got one now. We got one that can do a thing. It does something similar to Voidwaker, but doesn't necessarily invalidate Voidwaker. It only steps on Voidwaker's toes at places that are specifically crush, and that Voidwaker only excelled at because we didn't have any other weapon that would actually land. I'm looking at you, Fasani Nightmare. There were no other spec weapons that you could use that you hit the button and then damage lands on the boss. Try clawing the Fasani Nightmare. Try using a couple of D-Mace specs. It's gonna eventually get there, but like, come on. I get to the Enrage and then I go Voidwaker, and the Enrage is gone. That's where that thing was meant for, because nothing else can hit there. But now, hear me out, guys. We don't need to just fiend off of the guaranteed accuracy roll. We can have a real crush spec weapon. No way. No way. We can have a weapon that's not just good because it's guaranteed to hit because nothing else will, no matter how hard we try. We can have a weapon that's meant for it. That's like meant to do this thing because we have an option that fills the slot now. I think that's sick. It's not going to take Void Waker out of the running for places that aren't necessarily weak to crush that you want that guaranteed or that very likely spec to land. But it's beautiful. It's like, it's new, but it's like nothing crazy. It's like damage is going to land. And if you're at a place that's weak to crush, damage is really going to land. So like, say you're a new iron, you don't have many spec weapons, you get this thing. It's kind of like spooning claws early. Like, you can use claws where they're not great. It's gonna miss a lot of the time, but you'll get away with it. It's better than nothing. It's like, same thing here. You can use this at, like, Slayer bosses, at random things that aren't necessarily weak to crush. It'll land. Maybe not always. It might not land huge. But it'll work. Like, it'll kind of fill in the gaps for people who have a spec weapon. It's not, like, completely useless if it's somewhere that's not necessarily weak to crush, but it's not stepping on any toes of any spec weapon other than specifically the Void Waker at Fasani Nightmare, which needed to go anyway. It was like a band-aid solution of like a spec weapon that's good there. So awesome. I love this thing. Just to be more clear exactly about what the spec weapon does, I know I just rambled about my opinion on it. But when you activate Brutal Swing, it makes 4 accuracy rolls in a single attack. So if any of these rolls succeed, the attack deals 70 to 110% of your maximum hit. Each additional successful roll further amplifies the attack, increasing both the minimum and the maximum hit by 20% each time. So if you're at something where it is incredibly weak to crush, you are probably going to land several of these accuracy rolls. This thing is going to hit like a truck. Like an absolute truck. Say you land all 4 of these accuracy rolls, you are hitting 170% potentially. 170% if all 4 land. Not only are you rolling potentially 170%, you are rolling minimum 130%. This thing is gonna be so good for Fasani. With Death Charge, with Surge Pots, people are gonna be hitting some nuts PBs. I'm looking forward to playing with this thing. And like, if you think about just the way they're kind of lining things up, this thing, if you get it, can kind of perfectly line up the Fasani grind and kind of make it feel less bad. And the IAC they just added got rid of you needing to have a shadow to really speed up Fasani. So now you only need something as cheap or as easy to get as an IAC, and then this bludgeon, and then maybe like, I don't know, a cudgel, and you could get some decent times at Fasani Nightmare. Not too bad. You don't need any like crazy specific stuff. There's just like, we got options now. And if we're gonna be needing to get Inquisitor, it's gonna be a lot more fun than it once was. Not to mention that they just completely gutted a phase off the Fasani fight, which was already an amazing fight, but it just felt like a little bit of a slog. If you weren't in max gear, it just felt a little bit too long, a little bit too unrewarding for the length of it. But they chopped down a phase. They put more life into a fight that, honestly, it deserved it. It's really fun, but just not a lot of people engage with it because it just wasn't worth it. They're trying to make it more worth it. And with this in the game, it will be faster, it will be more fun, and it will be more worth it. I like it. I like where things are going. Everything other than the Seeker Arrows, I'm happy that they're coming into the game. The Seeker Arrows I'll play around with, they'll be fun, whatever. Not the biggest fan, but we take what comes into the game as it comes into the game, and once it's past the pull, no use in making any major complaints or whining too much about it. Like, there's a few times I'll give my particular opinion if I just really don't like something, but I'm never like crying to have something removed from the game, where it's like, I just like talking about stuff. So it's like, if something comes into the game that I don't like, I might yap about it, but it's like, I've accepted it already. It's already, we're past this stage of acceptance. It's coming into the game. We'll have fun with it. but I might yap about why I don't think it's the greatest thing. That being said, I hope you enjoyed the little yap on the new items. I hope you weren't looking for too many specifics on the exact stats of these items, but more so just what they'll do in the game when they come in, how they'll feel, and what I think about them. The stats on these items aren't particularly too interesting, let's say. It's just Necklace of Anguish upgrade. It's got more stats now. Range gonna hit harder. Like, the Seeker upgrade. The Seeker arrows were just like, here, bunch of accuracy. Why? I don't know. So, like, hope you weren't looking for too many, like, exact specifics of this item has 3 more prayer bonus than the previous iteration. And, like, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what these items are gonna do, how I feel about them, whether or not they're gonna be good additions to the game, whether we're scared to see them come in, we're happy they pass the pull. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching. As always, we'll leave this one unedited with all the flubs, bubs, and misspeaks 100%. We hit that a few times, but I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. Drink some water, touch some grass, kiss a homie. And if you want to see anything live, we are live every day, twitch.tv/2FactorRS. Bye!